Hello everyone, this is Byron Johnson again. Today's lesson, this first intro is going to be our beginning lessons on least squares adjustment, utilizing control, various methods of control, or vintages of control. Also selecting polygons, areas to be adjusted in the least squares to this control, and possibilities how to maintain cartographic pleasing end results. Now, it'd probably be next to impossible for me to demonstrate every encounter that you might encounter, but I'm trying to cover as many applications and utilizations that I could think of at the time with what we have. This will be the first of several, if not a half dozen or more, lesson videos on least squares. Due to various instances of various types of control, it is going to take several. The first one I actually recorded was about 40 minutes long. I'm cutting that up now into a couple shorter ones, and then we'll be showing and demonstrating a couple more even after that of other control applications. So hope these are a benefit to you, and we will get started. Okay, on this lesson here, we're just going to go over a couple different ways of utilizing control and different adjustments. This is a small area. That's where we had loaded the control in the last couple lessons of loading control. And we're going to start with just adjusting the southeast quarter. Now, I have unclicked these to not be used in the adjustment. Also, I've brought in the LX coordinates for the section corners and the control coordinates that were used for this township. You can see the control is sitting in a similar pattern close to what our new surveyed points are. We're going to investigate this a little bit more, but first, let's make sure we're in an edit session. We are editing. I'm going to open up the maintain control points, and I'm going to show where I clicked off some of this control, like 200, 640, 220, 640. And then you can see 240, 700 is clicked off. This control I'm probably not going to use within any adjustment in this area. I did a little more research, found out there's several sections that were surveyed at about the same time, and I'll be bringing that control in up here and doing adjustments up here in a future video lesson. So also, along with this, you can see all the points that are clicked on are points that are around the southeast. These are as they were loaded. And then we get down here and we have the LX coordinates for these three here. And then the control, you notice none of those are clicked on, and the control is not associated. There's no parcel point here. Earlier experiments I did with that didn't really help anything. If anything, it made more distortion in all the surrounding polygons of this area. And then I also brought in these section corners down here based on the LX coordinates. And those are clicked off at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. We're going to do the first adjustment by just selecting the southeast quarter and the lines for the adjoining polygons. So we want to get our selection tool, just window this area, and you can see what all is selected. Okay. Before an adjustment, you do want to go to your table of contents. This is probably what most people are commonly used to seeing. This is where all your feature dataset layers are. This is where you select the layers you want to adjust. Now, right now, we do have township. And we have first, quarter, points, control, second divisions, and lines. Lines are what actually adjust. You can see these independent lines here. And then the polygons realign themselves to the lines. The points are selected, being the parcel points and the control points. All these have already been associated or matched together. You can see since we selected this area, these are on a section line, so we have these sections, these 4 sections selected. Do that. This is a section line along here, and this is a section line here, and this is a section line over here. But since we selected the section, it's going to catch part of it. So as we go along here, we're going to go ahead and adjust this. Open our maintain control again. We really don't need to worry about template because the control is already loaded. If we're going to enter more control, I could click on my template and I could tell what I wanted to, which category I wanted to come in. Where you see we have BLM, GCDB, digitized, and we have pseudo control. The digitized is what I did with the points that were out of the con file from GMM in this area. I loaded the LX points as pseudo. Now you notice there's no IDs for these points that are not turned on basically or clicked on. So I can go ahead and cancel this because I'm not going to be entering anything. I did do an adjustment earlier, so it's going to come up with the distance residuals. This usually comes up to 0.01, but I had already done to get a pass here. It needs to be at 15 meters to work with all this data. Now you can actually see where there's double attribution or labels in these areas. This is the difference between the polygons and the lines, and that tells you which ones are actually going to be adjusted, or it has the adjustment will have an effect upon. So we're going to go ahead and say run. It completed. If it says it completed, it means you have a pass. So it passed. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and accept it. This is just a demonstration because I'm going to be doing several other variations of adjustments. I say accept. Comes back and shows what the shift is over the top of the underlying. So once I feel comfortable, that's what I want, I go ahead, I click OK. It processes it. And then these are the end results. I'm going to go ahead and clear the selection so we can see this a little more accurately. Now you can see how I put distortion in all the way over to here because these lines pushed. And if they push and it's within the section, then it's going to shove. You can see where it used to be on this LX point, how it shoved it over on each one of these. That's because the section needed to be adjusted based on this. So it's shifting the entire section based on this new location. Now, the other thing I want to show or demonstrate here is we're going to zoom in down here, and you can see this is where the LX coordinate, the GMM LX file, the final adjusted coordinates that generated, the LX file generated from a regional adjustment. This is the digitized control that was used for that. But being that the control was allowed to float, Basically, if it was 40 by 40, it could go up to 120 feet. These are actually right at that, if not a little bit more difference between these. But part of it being that when I looked at the actual adjustment file from the township, these were not displaced by this much. It was only like about 40 feet. Up to 50, I think one of them was 60 feet throughout the other couple up there. But you can see where that may have been better if this digitized control was actually held within the adjustment. So let's go back a little bit here and look at this. Once again, you can see up here, digitized control, not as good, but closer. And here, this is the only digitized control that was in the area. So we're looking at, let's clear this. We're looking at here to here. You're looking at 60 feet. So there was 60 feet that it was allowed to move. Now, in the least squares in WinGMM, if it was 40 by 40, it's allowed to shift up to 3 times that value before it becomes an outlier. So 3 times the value of 40 is 120 feet. So it's still well within the original adjustment. Yet when it came out of the regional adjustment, which is anywhere from 50 to 60 townships, it somewhat disregards that 3 times the value rule, and it just adjusts based on what all the other control is around all these other townships. I did research, didn't bring it in, but there was kind of dense control along this line for this township here, and in this area of this one, and this one had a little bit more on this one. They were used common for both of these townships and these townships. There was a couple extra control points on this line when I saw that for this township than there was for this township, which I found kind of odd that they weren't duplicated. And then this being unsurveyed. So you can see how it kind of distorted all this data here. Now I did also, you see these where you have the 64th corners here. These are not represented on any survey plat. I did research to the MTP. It looks like that they may have been put in due to a patent or a material site, but they have no survey value and can actually be taken out. Later on I'll show how to take these out or how to combine these so you don't get these kinks. There's no reason to keep them because there's no survey data to back them up. I did find in Nevada that you found instances like this for material sites and stuff, and actually other ones just sitting with inside here a quarter, that for a period of time they were putting those into GCDB, kind of using it like a pseudo GIS system. Well, anyways, that's, if just holding this quarter section here, this is what we ended up with. I do want to go in and I'm going to show you these points here. They were not used in the adjustment. So you can see where everything adjusted, and you see where the control point is, you see where the parcel point is. Same thing on this one. You see how it adjusted. And this one you can visually see that it's not on the point. Once again, I probably will not use this point at all in any adjustments in this township, since there's a section corner tied here, the quarter corner, section corners up here, and then for another section up or so, I think 3 more sections is a survey to the north, to where I'm going to use that for another adjustment, and there is some partial differences or cut-ups, divisions below the quarter up here in this township to the north. Now the other thing I want to show, and I left in here just so I can show this error just to make you be aware of, is you notice I did not have any line points on these lines. And we zoom in, and since I did not maintain a line point in this adjustment, I have a separation of the quarter section line and the section line. You can't really see the blue for the quarter section, but you can vaguely see the green for the section line. But when I inverse this distance, we're looking at something like, oh, if I remember right, it's like maybe 1/10,000th of a foot. 1/1000th of a foot after this adjustment. So 1/1000th of a foot, that's 1/10 of 100th. 100th being a little less than 1/8 of an inch. So doesn't really affect anything unless you zoom way in. But part of why this is so close, and the other line opposite of it is basically the same way. Actually, it was a little less even. The reason these aren't too drastic is we have control surrounding all of this, and it's adjusting closely. Now, what I've experienced before is if there is no control controlling any of this here, and it's just there and there, you can get a much larger separation. I've seen up to several feet. So we're going to be getting into the line points in the lesson I do on the least squares to this township to the north. So I'm going to undo this. This is very simple. I didn't want that adjustment, so I undo it. And everything's back to the way it was. Okay, that concludes lesson 1. And the next several lessons will be covering several other various adjustments utilizing various control. So until then, we'll talk to you later.